Peggle. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, the Yemmy the Ferret. I hope everyone's doing fantastic this week and or weekend. Whatever day you're listening to this, I hope that you're having a good one. Ferret 64 is, of course, the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We got a lot to talk about today, including beat Expedition 33, played Doom the Dark Ages, finished or beat the first Berserker Khazan, and Captain Blood. Whoa! So if you want to stick around for that and much more, make sure you stick around. Also, today I have a bit of a sore throat, so if I have to pop a lozenge halfway through this, you know why. Let's go ahead and get started with what have I been playing this past week. I'm going to start off this with Doom the Dark Ages, because that is the newest game that I'll be talking about. And I'm very happy with it. I know that apparently sales numbers aren't as good as Doom Eternal. I think the main reason for that is that it's available on Xbox Game Pass. It's an Xbox-funded game, Bethesda game, and more people are probably playing it on Xbox Game Pass right now than buying a copy at the store. This also comes up after the disc version of the game only has 83 megabytes of data on it and prompts you to download the entire game. So, PlayStation users, people who play on console like Xbox, kind of getting shafted there in a couple of different ways. So also, I think that's also affected the sales as well. Why am I going to go buy a disc with only 83 megabytes of data when I can just download the full thing anyway on my computer or even through Xbox Game Pass on my Xbox? So I think that's really affecting the sales for this one this time around. Now, I could be wrong about that, but seems rather likely in all honesty. So Doom the Dark Ages, it feels a lot like 2016 Doom, and I really loved 2016 Doom. I like that better than Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 are two very different beasts. Even though they're boomer shooters, run gun, whatever, they feel very, very different. And I think that because of the fact that Doom 2016 was, it just felt the way that I liked. It's why Doom Eternal just kind of was like, I like Doom Eternal, but it wasn't my favorite Doom out of the whole series. But Doom the Dark Ages feels more like 2016 in my opinion. They re-added in animations for ripping off the card keys off of bodies, or picking up a gun and inspecting it. They added that stuff back in, but they did keep the classic style health and armor pickups from Doom Eternal, where it's big blue vials or a big set of armor or a big head of armor. So they did keep some of that campiness in there, while also adding the things that I really liked from Doom 2016, making it a bit more. It just feels a bit more lived in, or not lived in, but it just feels like you're actually there manipulating the stuff. So there's that there, and then also they brought back the kind of cool level design where it's multi-layered and the map is all 3D, and there's all these different places that you can get to, or you can come back and get to later after getting the shield upgrade to bash through walls or throw your shield at things. So it also has a lot of replayability there, going back through levels, and then it also has a lot of collectibles again with the little figurines that you can collect, which are really cute. I have a couple on my shelf back there that they sold, the Cacodemon and the Doom guy himself. Both of those are just really cute. I really like the quality of those, and the ones that they put into the game also are very very cute, very cool. Love that as well. Also, you can find codex entries and secret areas with extra lives and stuff like that. So plenty of stuff for you to search around and find in this game as well. One of the things I loved about Doom 2016 was its 100% platinum trophy. Now, I didn't look up what the 100% entailed for the Dark Ages, but the 2016 Doom, it was pretty it was pretty fun to go around throughout all these levels, find everything you need to find, do all these like special challenges for the game, which they also brought back as well, where you are now you have like these various tasks or challenges to complete in each level, and it rewards you with gold, which is the new pickup in the game. You can pick up gold, and you use the gold to upgrade your character, your Doom guy. But you also, by completing the challenges, you get extra gold. So you can do. There was one that was like you kill 40 demons, do a 3-hit combo 3 times. Some basic stuff for the first level that has challenges in it. But of course, they get more difficult as you go on with weapon specific or upgrade specific items. The other cool, the thing that I actually really like about the game is instead of having to scroll through all of your weapons or hotkey all your weapons, weapons of the same ammo type, like there's 2 different like assault rifle type weapons in the game. One of them fires like stakes or whatever we would call them, where the other one fires like big long nails. And those are on the same hotkey. So if I press 2 on my keyboard and then I press F, it'll switch between those 2 weapons. The same thing for the shotguns. Number 1 on the keyboard is the regular shotgun. Then you also have the super shotgun as the secondary, which you press F to change that on. I don't know what it is on the controller. Probably a various button combo there, but. I like that a lot too, because it allows you to more quickly and just to adapt to the situation more quickly. So if you run into a guy who's like a big boy and you want to use like the railroad spikes on him, boom, press F, switch to it, boom, boom, boom. Start shooting him with that. There's also like 2 different plasma rifles in the game. One's like a really quick shooting plasma rifle. The other one is like a more slow but more powerful type of plasma rifle. It all works really well. I mean, the design of the weapons and then how they handle feels really good in the game. Very unique as well at times. Like there's that skull crusher weapon which they showed off in a lot of trailers, that just like shoots like splinters of skull into the ether, and that has a really wide range on it. So if you're in a group of enemies, just pull that gun out, blast it for a couple seconds. You've cleared out half the room already. But that's another thing too that they did really well is changing up the battle arenas. I'm only like 7 chapters into this point, and there really hasn't been like a repeated arena or a repeated section in the game so far, which is really great. The other thing about Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 is a lot of the environment can become samey as you go through the game, because it's either like Mars or Hell, and there's really no in between. With Doom the Dark Ages, there's a lot of different environments that you can traverse through, because it is like a medieval place. There's forests, there's beachside, there's there's still industrial like internal stuff, because it's not like completely medieval. It's very much like a sci-fi inspired medieval setting, where you still have like giant mechs and flying ships and dragons with energy wings and stuff like that. But gone are the times of like long swords and bows and arrows. No, these knights have plasma rifles and energy axes and stuff like that. So they definitely badassified the medieval setting with sci-fi stuff, which is just really cool. I really love the whole aesthetic of the game. It runs really well. I wasn't expecting to not have to adjust settings in the game, because a lot of games I gotta just tweak things here or there. But pretty much from the get go, it had everything on that I needed, and I didn't even need to mess around with any settings. So, and I'm happy about that. I just had to turn the volume down a little bit. Like I have this like really nice speaker set up, and it requires me not to have the game blasting in order to hear it. But the game was like turned up to 10 or 11 on the in the settings, and even though I love to hear those metal riffs and the crunch and gore happening, I had to turn it down just a smidge, just a little bit, because it was just overpowering like my entire room. And I have like these foam things set up to try and dampen sound and stuff like that. That wasn't helping. That wasn't helping at all. But yeah, I mean that's just a testament to how good the soundtrack is, how good the sound effects are, the audio and stuff like that. All sounds really, really good. The graphics are great. The environments look really good. The animations of like the enemies and stuff like that all are really well done as well. There are a fair amount of new enemy variety in there as well, which is really good. I really enjoy that because in the last two games I've kind of had the same ish enemy types. Of course they've been switched up a bit, of course. The one thing that is a bit odd to me is they took out the glory kills, like not entirely, but they took out a lot. Like on basic enemies, you can't really glory kill them anymore. It's just kind of like punching them in the face or just eviscerating them with the shield, which is fun. Don't get me wrong. Like I love using the shield bash on a group of enemies and just splattering them all into pools of blood. That's not like a criticism per se. It's just like I kind of wish I could, snap an imp's neck in half again, or tear out the heart of every single one of those big guys with the double guns. I forget what they're called right now, but it's still fun to like when the glory kill does happen. It's usually on like a harder enemy. They're animated very, very well. Like there's these ones Mankey buses. You pull them out. You pull like the heart out of the Mankey bus and you smash it in your hand and they explode behind you. It's just such a cool little thing that happens, and I wish it would happen every single time you do a glory kill on them. But no, a lot of times like they'll turn purple and you just punch them really hard or you kick them really hard and they splatter and give you health and ammo and stuff like that. So it gives you the same stuff per se for like the glory kills. It's just not a glory kill. It's just punching them with your fist, or you're using your shield to bash them with that. Also, along with the shield, you have a parry move. So if a energy shot or if an enemy is glowing green, that means they're about to do an attack that you can parry. And if you parry them, a lot of times it'll do damage back to them, or it'll reflect the shot back to them. Which has been coming in handy, and they actually utilized that in one of the early on boss fights for the game to kind of get you used to it. And I thought it worked really well. The parry window can be extended if you're having trouble, so there's accessibility options in there for you if you need that. But for the most part, like I mean, I'm just really having a great time with it. I think this is like gonna be one of my favorite Dooms after all is said and done. I obviously want to play through the entire game before making that statement official, but it's starting to feel like that it's going to be up there with Doom 2016, which I really enjoyed, and I'll keep saying that to the end of my days, obviously. But Doom 2016 really just clicked with me where Doom Eternal did not for some reason. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't yet, try it. Check out Doom: The Dark Ages. It's on Game Pass. It's also available, everywhere else essentially, minus the Switch right now. I'm guessing there's going to be a Switch 2 port of this game. I feel like that's where they're going to go with it. So we'll see what eventually happens, but I feel like there's going to be a Switch 2 port, maybe not a Switch 1 port of this one. If they put something out on the Switch 1, it's probably going to be one of those like, what are they called? Cloud games. But I also feel like if Xbox does do a Switch 2 version, and if they do a physical version of it, it'll just be one of those code key cards that they're putting out. So I don't know. Just we'll see what happens. I definitely would have bought a physical version of this game or Indiana Jones or whatever if the entire game was on that disc. But because the game is not on the disc, where it could be on the disc, or maybe most of it on the disc with a small download. Yeah, I mean, why would I go out and buy a separate copy of Doom: The Dark Ages when I can just play it on Xbox Game Pass for literally like downloading the same amount of data? So yeah, that's the I think that's the thing that's kind of like making people a bit annoyed right now, especially with Xbox. And I did see online that a lot of people were like boycotting the game because of that. Where I don't feel like it really deserves that. I mean, it's more so on Xbox, and I feel like if you express like towards like just don't buy the physical version of the game. I think that's a great way to boycott it. Download the game, don't buy the physical version, or at least just don't buy the physical version. I mean, you don't have to download the game or anything like that, but just don't buy the physical version of it, and maybe that'll show Xbox like, hey, well, you know what they're probably going to say? They're probably going to say, "Oh, it looks like a lot of our players are not, they don't care about physical games, so we'll just do digital releases." That's probably what they would get gander from that. So I feel like I feel like no matter what, we're kind of screwed with this whole thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, I totally would have bought a physical version of Indiana Jones and Doom when it went down and like a sale happened, if there was more data on that disc. But with it just being like a small amount of data that just initiates a download on your console, just kind of seems worthless to me. Would it look great next to Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 on my shelf? Yes, it would. But unfortunately, unless it gets down to like 20 or $10 physically, I don't think that I will be picking up Doom: The Dark Ages physically. But I'll keep playing on Xbox Game Pass. Love that. And I'll let you guys know if anything new pops up. But I'm expecting to probably have the game finished by next week. If not next week, the week after at the latest. Because I was really having a good time with it. And the problem is that, like, a lot of times I'll start playing and it's, like, already, like, 8 o'clock. And by 9 o'clock, because I'm old and frail, I start to feel tired around 9. And usually around 10 o'clock, I'm in bed. So I haven't been having as much time to play it as I wanted to. And also, you might be asking, well, why don't you just play it all day Friday or Saturday? I was playing. I was trying to get finish up Clair Obscure Expedition 33, which is going to be the next game that we talk about. So let's move on to that. That's right. I finished Clair Obscure Expedition 33, and I gotta say, like, this was a, I hate to use the newest gen terms, but this was a peak experience. Going into it, I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did, mostly because it is a very heavily inspired JRPG type game. Even though it's a Western RPG, it's still very, maybe it's not Western. It's because it's from France, so it's a very European RPG. But I guess, like, that didn't really matter to me because the gameplay is great, the story's great, the graphics are awe-inspiring, the soundtrack is amazing. And it didn't really matter to me that it was inspired by JRPG because it wasn't a JRPG. It's very much like a turn-based RPG that has a lot of, like, flair to it. I've talked about the game a couple times now. I don't want to reiterate things that I've said in the past because that'll just be repetitive. But TLDR, if you don't want to go back and listen to the other episodes, I've been having a great time with it pretty much since the get-go. It took me a little while to get used to the turn-based stuff, with the parrying and dodging in the game being a bit finicky at the start before I really knew how it worked out, or the timing worked out. But probably about halfway through the game, it just kind of started clicking with me better, and I was good to go from there. And the story throughout the entirety of the game was also just very good so far. Like that opening prologue really sets the stage perfectly for the game, and once you get into it, and the writing is so good. Like, that's the thing that separates this from like a JRPG to me personally. A lot of JRPGs, they have those anime isms, and even though I enjoy my anime, don't get me wrong, like, there's things that happen with the voice actors and the characters and the dialogue that just makes me go ew. And it's a lot of like those anime isms, like they do like the anime sounds as the game goes on. And for me personally, that's the most annoying part of these experiences. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I know a lot of people love it. Like, I was starting to get so annoyed with the dialogue and how just every time Cloud would talk, he would start off with the or something like that. And it just really annoys me personally. Okay, that's a me thing. With Clair Obscure Expedition 33, because it's not a JRPG per se, even though it's heavily inspired by them, the dialogue doesn't have those anime isms in it, which makes it much more palatable for me. And once again, I like animes. I don't mind when it happens in like regular anime, like Naruto or Dragon Ball or something like that. For some reason, I'm fine with those things being in those properties because I kind of grew up with that stuff. But when it comes to my video games, it annoys the hell out of me. It really does. And that's, like I said, that's a me problem. Not to shit on the entire JRPG community, but that's a me problem, and I just don't like that. That's like one of the main factors of JRPGs that kind of makes me, start to be annoyed with them and then eventually drop them. So yeah, Expedition 33 does not have that problem. The dialogue is excellent. The story is excellent. Like the twists and turns that this game takes you on is just incredible. And I think that it all kind of like culminates in one big giant like moment, which is the end of like Act 1. And that really like cascades into just such a, don't even get me started about the end of Act 2. Like the end of Act 2 is also like, I don't want to use the word mind-blowing, but it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy what they decided to, what they did here. This is a final review for the game, so I am going to talk about spoilers. And if you don't want to hear the spoilers, I would suggest using the chapters on YouTube or the timestamps that are usually down below or on Spotify or something like that to skip ahead to either the very end of this section or to the next section where I'll talk about Revenge of the Savage Planet. But I am going to talk major spoilers here because I just got to say just how great it is, right? So I'll give you a second here. Let me take a drink of water. You have been warned. There are major spoilers coming up right now. So, why the story works so well for me is they take this bizarre concept of this painter who is writing the number of the age of people who are going to be gamaged on the tower, on this monolith. And the expedition is sent out every year to try and stop the painter. Some get very far, some don't get far at all. Expedition 33 seemed like it was going to be a failure because right at the prologue ends and your entire team's wiped out except for a couple who survive, and they continue on with the journey. And you kind of get the pieces of the other expeditions out there, like the climbing expedition. They made it pretty far. The original expedition, they made it all the way into the monolith. There's another expedition that was like some sort of like they used some sort of like weird body modifications or whatever to make it really far into the stuff. So it's cool to get those little snippets of information from these various expeditions that came before you. It's really cool to get all that past lore. But at the end of Act 1, you find Renoir, who is the very old-looking man from the prologue who wipes out your entire crew. And there's obviously a connection with him and Malay, who is the red-haired 16-year-old girl in your squad who just decided to come with you because she was like, well, my family, I have no family here. I'm an orphan. Everyone's an orphan in Lumiere. So, she's just decided to come with you because, what does she have in Lumiere? So she goes with Gustav and the crew, and there's some sort of connection that she has with Renoir. You kind of get that here and there. There's another character in the game named Alicia who looks very similar to Malay, but the game's like, gosh, it's a different, it's definitely a different character, right? Just different hair color, different, she has this burned up face, so it's like, throughout the whole game, you're like, is that the same? Is there some sort of weird twin thing going on or whatever? But yeah, the end of Act 1 happens. Gustav is killed, and it's a very emotional moment. It's a moment that just I was like, wow, we're already killing off the main character of the game, right here. I'm like, and throughout the entire game, I'm like, oh, they're gonna bring him back. They didn't even really show him dying, right? They're gonna bring him back, and later on, Malay is bringing back some of the expedition members to help assault the monolith and or maybe not even the monolith, but whatever. She brings back a bunch. I'm like, oh, they're gonna bring back Gustav with this, right? They're gonna bring. Nope, they didn't bring him back throughout the entire game, and I'm like, damn, like that's kind of crazy. And even though there's a character who takes Gustav's place with very similar like basic moves, Gustav just never comes back. Like, and once the Act 1 ends, like that's it for him. And I was kind of like, I was semi annoyed with that, but also like that's very bold of them to do, because like the Gustav like whole energy thing where he powers up his arm and then does like a major like shock damage to the enemy was really cool. I really like that idea of like building up shock charge with every attack and then being able to unleash a more powerful attack eventually down the road. And every single character is kind of the same, where they have a completely different move set. So you have Lune, who is like a magic user. She has fire attacks and ice attacks and earth attacks, and she can do healing and stuff like that for her party as well. And then you have Malay, who has different stances. She can change to like defensive stance or offensive stance or virtuoso stance, which does like 200% damage. So she becomes like the glass cannon of the group, where you're doing all these combinations to make sure she's in the virtuoso stance, the like as much as you can to do the maximum amount of damage. And then later on, you add in a character named Verso, who is like the Gustav counterpart. He has a lot of the same basic moves as Gustav, like adding powerful to characters and marking enemies that for the next attack to do more damage. But he also has a lot of unique stuff in there as well, including like a gradient, not a gradient attack, a radiant attack that swipes at all enemies and can break them. Or he has the ability to like heal himself, or there's a lot of different moves that he has as well that just helps out the entire team. Before that, you do get Seal, who is this other character in the game who has gone through like lots of loss in her life, because both the husband and son, like infant child, like died early on, way before they were supposed to gamage, due to like a boating accident or something like that. And once you learn more about these characters at the camp, so make sure you go to the camp relatively often, because you can like spend time with various characters and get them to open up more about their life. And once you get to the highest rank of friendliness with them, a couple things can happen. You can either form a romantic relationship with them, or you can just be good friends with them. And also at the same time, they will get new gradient attacks as you go through the game more. Gradient attacks are these big attacks that build up over time. So you have to build like a gradient meter by doing perfect parries and dodges and getting hits on enemies with big attacks and stuff like that, doing the little quick time events during the game. And that'll build up your gradient meter. And you can press RT on the controller to pull up a list of more powerful moves that can do various things, like add 10 stacks of flame, or hit 15 times and cause break, or heals the entire party and fixes all their status ailments, or et cetera, et cetera. There's lots to be done there. So that's like the thing that they add in later in the game, right around where Act 2 like ends. They kind of add in these gradient attacks. So the enemy will do a big gradient attack that has like this black and white filter on it, and it's like this big ball is forming. And when they do that attack, you can also do your gradient counter, which you press RT for. And once you do that, you can do like a big like reversal of the attack. And it's a little bit hard to time sometimes, but there is a big window for the parry, so that is nice. There's a bit of a counteract there. And then later on in the game, you get a guy named Monaco, who is a one of those like, I forget what they're called in the game. He's one of the characters in the game that you meet, who is a part of like the world itself. And he can actually transform into various enemies. So after you defeat an enemy with Monaco in your party, he can actually he takes their legs and he gets a move from them. So the more you use them, the more powerful moves you will acquire over time, simply because you're using them in your party and you're fighting a lot more difficult enemies. So he can get some really, really good moves and attacks in there. The one thing that's kind of interesting about his character, too, is the fact that his moveset is all based on like this random, not really random, but this wheel, which has different marks on it pertaining to the different types of moves they can acquire. So if he has an agile mark on, he boosts damage on agile moves, or if he has a powerful mark on, he boosts attacks with the same type. So he's also very interesting. I haven't used him as much as I would like to because I just wasn't really like I just like I wasn't really liking the style of his character. But now that I've finished the game, I'll go back through a lot of areas and get various moves for him. I'll add him to my party and really start utilizing him. And I know that there's like a meta for his character. Like, don't get me wrong, like I know that there's some metas for all these characters, but I wanted to go through the game as blindly as I could. And that actually was detrimental to me because I forgot completely to use my luminaries, which are bonus points you can add to each character. By the end of the game, I had like 500 or 600 luminaries to spread across my different characters, and I had forgot to spread them across them since like the tutorial for it. So I was going throughout the entire game without the added buffs of those luminaries. And if you don't know what they are, essentially each character can have 3 perks equipped to themselves. These are 3 main perks, and you get more as you explore and beat enemies. The luminaries allow you to add extra perks onto your character over time. You can add more and more and more. So if you allocate 80 luminary to like a Lune, you can add X amount of perks to the character up to 80 points. So you have like 80 points to spend on the different luminaries. Some cost like 30, some cost like 5, and less. It just depends on how good the perks are. So throughout my entire playthrough, I was only adding perks to my characters and their base sets. I was not adding the luminary perks. So does that make me better at the game or worse at the game? You tell me. Because throughout the entire game, I did struggle a bit more on some boss fights and stuff like that. And I was like, there's got to be something that I could do to like make this fight go faster or make this enemy less unbearable. But I had just totally forgotten up until the end. I was literally fighting the final boss, and I was like, damn, I'm like doing hardly I like my characters aren't going, their turns aren't happening as fast, and we're getting our asses kicked here. And I was like, well, I could go back and like grind a little bit in some of these areas, but then I was like looking at the at my character sheet, and I was like, wait a second, luminaries. And I clicked on it, and it had like the whole list of luminaries that I could equip, and I like just started like pressing on a couple of them, and I was like, oh my god. Like when that happened, like I literally like got out of my seat and started to like cry. No, I didn't start to cry, but internally I was like crying because I was like, I went through this entire game with a handicap. Like I literally went through the entire game just without this whole thing that I could have done from the beginning. And it would have made a lot of these experiences a little bit easier, or even a lot easier, because guess what? I equipped all those luminaries, went after the final boss, beat it in the first go, because I equipped like the best of the perks that I could, which I would have done anyway by the time that I got there. But still, it's just like, and once again, like I said, does that make me better at the game because I survived a lot of these encounters without the help of the excessive amount of luminaries you can equip to your character? I don't know. It does it make me a dub ass for not using them? Yes. Does it make me bad at the game? No. Does it make me better at the game? I mean, that's up for debate. That's up for debate. I think anyone can kind of tank their way through these scenarios because you do find a lot of revive tints and healing tints as well. You can actually get like you can actually add more to your characters. So, I like at the end of the game, I had like 10 revives and like eight healing and like 8 AP, extra AP stuff, like so I was pretty well off. So I was able to kind of like work my way through a lot of fights and stuff like that, just because like if I got killed by a boss in one hit, I could just use my surviving character to revive them. I had 10 of them. I could go willy-nilly with that. But on my final time against the final boss, I only used like 2 revives because it's one of those bosses where it's like you mess up your parry or dodging and your character's just fucked. Like they're just dead. So a lot of them I was getting the timing on, but there was a couple of final moves there that was giving me a bit of trouble. So that's like the overall like basis of the game, right? And I know I was talking about the story not too long ago. Act 2 happens, and it completely flips this game on its head. It's the upside down castle of Expedition 33, where you find out that the entire world that you beat the paintress, I'm sorry, you beat the paintress, and you find out that the entire world that you're in is Verso's canvas. And you might be if you haven't been following along, you might be like, Verso, you said that he was a companion in your party. Yes, he is. But that version of Verso in your party is a painted version of his memory. And he died in the fire that also disfigured Alicia, who is Malay. So what happened was Alicia went into the painting, the canvas, because in this world, like, writers, painters, musicians, they can do these weird things, and the painters, they can actually, go inside their canvases and work inside their canvases like the painter did, or Renoir or whatever. So Alicia goes inside the painting because the grief from losing Verso, from Renoir and their mother, trapped them inside this painting. Their grief trapped them inside this painting because they're just like living inside of Verso's painting, and he's there, and they can like see him and talk to him. So it was like a coping mechanism for their depression. So Alicia goes inside the painting to try and get them to stop, but she gets overwhelmed by her first time jumping into a painting, and she actually gets reborn as Malay, and she has to like live like her 16, 18 years of life. She has to live inside the painting, not remembering who she is until you defeat the paintress and she learns all of her backstory there. So that was like a really big like turning point for the game, where I was like, damn, this like, there's a world where this didn't work, but it does work because the original concept of the game is already so wacky. Now, I'm still not clear on why the painter needs to paint like a number and homage these people every time the number she's ticking down the number. I'm still not like 100% clear on that, but the rest of the game is very open to telling you what you need to know about this universe and what you need to know about the story going on. So after that happens, you defeat the paintress, you send your mom out of the painting, and Renoir, who was stuck inside the monolith, he's the heart of the monolith. He's able to, be like the painted version of him is gone, and now Renoir is there, and he's like, yeah, we need to destroy this painting. Like your mother was trying to, keep it safe and keep me trapped, so I wouldn't do that. But the longer you're inside a painting, the more damage it does to your physical body and stuff like that. So they're kind of weakened in that state. But Renoir is like, we got to destroy this canvas because even though it's the last thing that we can hold on for Verso, like it's just not good for the family. And it was at this point that I started agreeing with the quote-unquote villain of the game in a way. So Renoir was making a lot of sense with his arguments. And, of course, Malay was also, like, snapping back with interesting conversation topics as well. And it all culminated to that ending boss fight where you do go up against the true Renoir, and it's revealed that he was the curator the whole time. He was while he was trapped inside the painting, he was kind of like the curator for the group who can upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. And so essentially, you beat him in the final boss fight, and you get the option to choose, like, do you, as Verso or Malay, you can choose whether to keep the painting or destroy the painting. And Verso, the painted version of Verso, is like, I'm like done. Like I want to leave. I want to ascend. Essentially, I want to get out of this. And Malay is holding on to this past and holding on to Verso and this painting, this last thing that can remind her of Verso. Also, when Malay is in the painting, she can, she doesn't have like the disfigurement from the burns. She can talk because throughout when she was in that fire, her vocal cords were damaged and she lost an eye. And she's in this painting and she can just be a quote unquote normal person. She can be whoever she wants to be. She can be Malay. She can be Alicia. She can do all this stuff. So you really feel for both characters' arguments at the end. But for me personally, I decided to side with Verso because I mean, look. Last year, I went through a lot of grief and a lot of depression. And yes, it's good to hold on to things that remind you of the person that you lost. But it's also good to make the effort to move on And with this painted world and this fake version of Verso, it just seemed unhealthy to me. And they make sure that with the after game like epilogue, they make sure the show like, this decision had a positive effect. The family is there and mourning Verso together, and it seems like things are going to be okay for them. And eventually Alicia will paint her own painting, I'm sure, and maybe we'll get another game with that. I don't know. If you choose to side with Malay, I'm not sure what happens because I would have to go through the entire final boss fight again to get that choice. But I'm guessing that you have to she does have to end up killing Verso in the painted world. But his memory will live on in this painting because Esquisse and Monaco and all the characters like Lune and Cecil and stuff like that, they are all Verso's characters, and they all get to live on in this painting. So it's a cool thing. Like this painted world got these characters took life of their own. Like even though they're not real per se, they were able to live inside this painting and have families and do things that normal people would do. Even with the Gomage happening and even with all this crazy Nevron stuff going on, they could still live lives. And I thought that was just a really cool concept of like this art taking on a life of its own and being able to just kind of like live in this weird world and like I thought that was just so cool. I love that concept. I really like the story. I like the what you can kind of choose the ending that you feel like you agree with the most. And I'm interested to hear what other people chose in the comments or something like that. If you want to comment like who you sided with, just like type in like, I really liked Malay in Expedition 33, or I really liked Verso, because I don't want to like spoil people in the comments either. So if you just put like I really liked Malay in this game, then I will know that you chose Malay, or I really enjoyed Verso's character. I'll know what you mean. While the people who haven't been spoiled yet won't. So yeah, I just want to be really respectful for people who maybe haven't gone through the game yet, or they're working their way through the game yet, because people play games at different speeds. The people play games at different speeds, and I don't want to be the one to accidentally spoil something simply because I tend to get through games a bit faster than other people. And it's not like I'm not. It's not like I'm not exploring the areas, but I'm also like not super hyper fixated on I have to get everything in the area before I move on, especially in a game like this that has upgrades and stuff like that you need to unlock certain areas or get through certain things. So now that I'm done with the game and I've opened up the entire world, I will probably go back through all these different areas that I already was in, and eventually I do want to take down all the different bosses in the game as well. There's plenty of them like flying and floating around. Last week I was talking about the giant guy in the water who I still can't beat, even though I've beaten the game and I have like a level like 60 character and I have all these things happening. You still can't get enough damage on them because I'm not leveled up enough. So I think going through like the regular areas and really combing them and fighting all the enemies again will really do me a good service for that. And here is the non-spoiler final thoughts of the game. I think that Expedition 33 is amazing. It's got a great graphical style. The character design, enemy design, world design is amazing. The story, gripping, powerful, humorous at times, sad at times. Just incredible storytelling in this game. Excellent dialogue, excellent voice acting. Really, really good stuff there. Fun side content as well. Lots of things to find on the map, lots of places to explore, lots of dungeons to go to, and different areas to find, and lots of different bosses, side bosses, and stuff to find as well. The main bosses of the game also rivaled like Souls-like bosses, but way more cinematic, which makes this game very special. Also, the combat in the game really clicked with me. I really enjoyed the turn-based style. It very much reminded me of my time with Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, which I know is not a great comparison because more people are like, oh, it's more like Final Fantasy X or blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I'm going from my experience, and from my experience, it feels like the Third Age mixed with the Thousand-Year Door, okay? And that's just me. But I really enjoyed the combat, the QTE stuff, the parrying and dodging system. Really enjoyed that in totality. Also, I really liked the party members and how different they were. I felt like they did a great job at making them all feel different, and having them mix up in your party, it makes the entire game feel different at times with how they work. And yeah, I think this is just an amazing game. This will be my second 5 out of 5 of this year. Expedition 33 is definitely a 5 out of 5 for me. Do I have some minor issues with it? Sure, much like any game. Just like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I had some minor issues with that as well. But the whole package as a whole is just a 5 out of 5 experience to me personally. So there you go. If you have not played it yet, or if you haven't tried it yet, I would definitely recommend it. It's on Game Pass if you want to check it out there. That way you don't have to spend like the $60 on it on a game that you might not like. I would highly recommend just like trying it out. I don't know if there's a demo available, but if there is, maybe try out the demo. If you have tried the game and you haven't really gotten too far in it because you're not like clicking with it right away, maybe try and go through like that first part of the game past the prologue. Try and go through a bit of that Act 1 and see if you start clicking with it maybe midway through that, like as you get to like the first major boss of the game. I feel like maybe that'll be a better showcase of what the game has to offer. Because you really don't get much from that like training part in the prologue. Like you understand like the basics of like how the turn-based stuff works and how the QTE stuff works, but you really start to build on your character once you start going through the world and unlocking more skills and leveling up and stuff like that. And I think like the opening like awe-inspiring nature of that first area can really suck people in. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Take it with what you will. Expedition 33, though, definitely a 5 out of 5 game in my opinion, and right now a front runner for Game of the Year at this point. I will be completely honest with y'all. Very, very good experience, and I can't wait to play even more of it because I do need to play more of it. So that's the non-spoiler final review for that. If you want to check out the spoilers, I time-stamped it. If you didn't want to check out the spoilers, you can just skip right past it to this section right here. This is non-spoiler final thoughts. And then I'm just gonna move on to the next game at this point because if I do go into like another spoiler discussion, that's just gonna look dumb on the timeline. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game that I want to talk about, which is Revenge of the Savage Planet. Big shout out to Greedy Waffles for suggesting that we play this game because I don't think I would have really gave it a second thought on my own because it's a Revenge of the Savage Planet is a sequel to Journey to the Savage Planet, which I never played. But Revenge of the Savage Planet is a crafting survival game at its core, but it does have a very interesting way that it does things. It's much more compact than most survival games, and there really isn't like a super big crafting element in it. It's more so like a survival game, in all honesty. Like if you die, you do lose, like you lose all your stuff that you were carrying, but you can get it back. And the world doesn't really require you to certain like craft like benches and stuff like that, like in like Minecraft or something like that. It's more so like you're crafting upgrades for your character. Better a double jump or a grappling hook or a gas mask, stuff like that to help you get through these areas. So that's the main thing about the game is like even though it is kind of like survival crafting, it's more so just like a story experience. Like I going into this, I was really like apprehensive. I was like, I don't know if I'm not like super big on survival crafting games and blah blah blah. But much like I've said with Expedition 33 and other games in the past, like sometimes a game in a genre will just click with you. And for me personally, Revenge of the Savage Planet has clicked with me in terms of like survival crafting games. Because it's really not 100% a survival crafting game. Like I said, it's more so like it uses the genes or the building blocks of those games to make a pretty fun and unique experience. Well, maybe not unique, but a really fun experience that doesn't have to be solely like crafting survival, right? So what happens in this game? So in this game, you're a part of like this crew who goes down to this planet, and they everything kind of goes wrong from the get go. The ship launches you into the wrong place, and you crash land, and you gotta like work your way towards the new base that's called New Florida, like New Metal, NU Metal, New Metal, New Florida. And once you get to this base, you find out that you've been fired. So you're on this planet and you've been fired, and you just kind of gotta just do your thing, to survive. So you start building up this new Florida base, and it's supposed to be made for like a bunch of different people to join you, but you can. The whole place is deserted because everyone there like either didn't make it down from orbit or were fired. So so it's just you and your friends. So I mean, the start of the game is pretty basic. You craft a pistol, you craft the double jump jetpack, you get to like the base of the game. You get like carbon and different versions of crafting materials from killing enemies and breaking apart rocks and stuff like that. But once you get to that main hub and you can venture out into like the open world, that's where the game really started to pull me in, because it didn't feel like a survival open world game. It more so felt like an open world story driven game, because it had missions for you that you need to do, and it pointed you in the direction of those things. And a lot of survival crafting games like The Forest or Minecraft, they won't give you an objective per se. They'll just be like, okay, go do your thing. And in this game, they do give you things to work towards, which I was very appreciative of. Also, because the game is more of like a story-based experience, there's cutscenes, there's story moments, there's bosses, there's various different things to keep you going through the game, to keep the game interesting. Also, I feel like the game is written, it's got some very funny dialogue in there. It's also, the graphic style is very cartoony and very, like it feels like you're venturing into like a Roger Rabbit kind of like Looney Tunes world at times. And yeah, there's a lot of different mechanics in the game that I'm really enjoying. Like you can actually capture creatures and add them to like your pet list, and they give you special upgrades after you catch them. The boss fights were pretty good. There's almost like a Metroidvania style element happening too, where you get the gun very early on, but you don't have something to unlock these electrical mushrooms. But later on, you get the thing to unlock the electrical mushrooms, so you can go back and do those things. And then eventually, you find a way to get through the crystal walls, and you find a way to get through other things as well. And you kind of go back to these different areas, and you try and use these new things that you got to your advantage to get more upgrades for yourself or find new things or whatever. So that's another part of the game that's really fun, is like going back through and trying to craft the items that you will need. And there's always like a story thing attached to like the major things, like the tuning fork or the water gun and stuff like that. It always has some weird like story element to them as well, which is fun, which is great. It adds a lot to the game. There's also a system of scanning things. You press a button on your visor, and you can scan anything. And it kind of reminded me of Mass Effect Andromeda, where you're like a pathfinder and you can scan various things to learn more about the environment. In this game, it's kind of the same way, except you can literally scan like everything. So like all the different kinds of trees, all the different kind of animals, all the different kind of blah blah blah. You open up your visor and you scan them, and it gives you like a little funny blurb about them. It's not always something informative. Sometimes it's as simple as like, that looks like a mushroom, and it's like, yes it does. Yes it does. So the overall like humor of the game also kept me going as well. Right now we're on the third planet of the game and able to go to the next one, I'm pretty sure. And I personally I would really like I really have been enjoying the game. I feel like it's a very fun adventure so far. Something different that I don't normally play, And much like last year with the various games that I enjoyed the most last year and the year before that, the games that are unique to me that I don't really play in the genre a lot, when they click for me, they click hard. And a lot of times they end up on like a top 10 list because they're just like so unique or so interesting, or just something in the genre that I haven't really dipped my toe into. And just in this episode, I've talked about 2 games and 2 genres that I really don't dip my toe into too often, which is like a turn-based JRPG type experience, and with this one, a survival crafting experience. Like, these are 2 games that have surprised me, and maybe they won't open the door to go and play more, but I think that these two games, like Revenge of the Savage Planet, has just been such a fun experience. I really have been enjoying my time with it, and I'm sure that I will enjoy my time with it much more as we continue on. But as of right now, I don't have much more to say other than, yeah, check it out. It's on Xbox Game Pass. It came out the same week as Doom, I'm pretty sure, or it was a week before. It was a week before that. But it's I like when I saw it in Xbox Game Pass, I was like, is this new? I feel like I feel like I've seen this game before, but it's because Journey to the Savage Planet is such a, it's just it's a similar name to Revenge. I'm pretty sure Revenge came out a couple weeks ago. So let me fact check myself, just because I don't want to be like the dumbass saying like this is a new game. Yeah, it came out May 8th, 2025. So it is new. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. All right, let's move on to the next game I want to talk about. The first Berserker, Khazan. I finished it, folks. Oh, I finished the game. This is going to be pretty short because I don't have too much more to add that I haven't already talked about with the game. But once again, TLDR, if you don't want to go back and listen to those episodes, I'll do a nice little final review here for you. First Berserker, Khazan. I really enjoy the graphic style of this. I really like the overall world aesthetics and design. I think the boss fights are immaculate. Like, those main boss fights are designed so well. There's so many great moments. When you beat a boss, it feels like an accomplishment. You're going through the learning stages and all that stuff. Just feels really good to beat a boss. The combat is fun. There's 3 different styles to choose from. I chose the dual blades for my playthrough, but I know a lot of people have been enjoying the greatsword and the spears. So there's 3 different ways to play, all with their own pros and cons. The dual blades were great, though. I really enjoyed my time with those. The perfect parry system is really fun to use. If you parry something perfectly, it does splashback damage after you get the skill for that. And it really helped me through a lot of these boss fights. Just doing that chip damage here and there just really helped me get through them. And the overall design of the combat is really fun. It really flows really nicely. Where the game started to lose me was with the side content. The side content is all reused stuff, whether it be reused enemies, reused bosses, reused areas that you've already been through in the game. It was just kind of boring to go back through and fight, just the same things over and over again. A lot of the side mission bosses are just stages of the bosses for the main game cut out and put into the arena. One of the first ones that you fight is a reskin of this guy who has a hammer and a nail, and he fights you. And even though there's a little bit of a difference there where he can teleport, it's still the same boss fight. And it was just kind of annoying to go back through and fight the same bosses again, because you felt, in my mind, it's like, I already beat this, I already did this, why am I doing this again? It becomes more annoying because of the fact that I already beat those various things. And some of the boss fights in the game for the side mission stuff is just like a regular enemy with a health bar, or just a squad of enemies coming after you, and it just doesn't really feel that great. I felt like those parts of the game, even though the story of the side missions can be interesting, that was the part where I started to really not enjoy myself. But the main stuff in the game is excellent. If this game was only main content, it'd probably be close to a 5 out of 5. But because it has all this reused side content in there, I lowered my score. And by the end of the game, I was very satisfied with beating it. I was like, damn, that was a journey. But I don't think this is not one of my favorite Souls-like. It is up there. It's very good, but it's not one of my favorites. So I landed on a 4 out of 5 for this one. Very good. Don't get me wrong. Very good. I have some issues with it, especially the side content. And I don't think that it's as good as something like Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne or Neo. But I do think that it's a very good game. It's a bit of a hack and slash, which is unique for the genre from what I know, which is cool. But for me personally, it's just a very good Souls-like, not the greatest Souls-like. But if you're looking for a fun time, looking for a Souls-like that's going to challenge you and give you something different, this might be the one for you. Obviously, it takes a lot of inspiration from Sekiro and other Souls-likes, sure. but it does have some unique elements in there that does help out. So one of the main things from that statement is the fact that boss fights give you extra extra XP depending on how far you get and die. So if you get to like the last inch of their health bar and you die, you get like 10,000 lacrima, and you can maybe level up your character. That's the thing about the game is it doesn't want you to go back and grind out areas. It wants you to grind out the boss because it'll give you XP for each attempt, which is really cool. I think that's a really good incentive to keep trying at something and just kind of learn a boss's patterns and get through the boss fight. So yeah, the first Berserker Khazan, really enjoyable. But once again, just not my favorite Souls-like ever, but a very good one. A very good one. Finally, for today's what I've been playing, I finished Captain Blood against my better wishes or better judgment. Last week I talked about Captain Blood and I said that it's a very bad game, and I continue with that statement. Captain Blood is just not a good game. It's really not. The combat has no weight to it. The story is boring. The level design is bad. The combat is bad. The boss fights are designed poorly. The story is just uninteresting. This is supposed to be like a homage to the PS2 era at this point because it was supposed to come out 20 years ago. I mean, look, this game had 20 years of development time. Whether they were working on it that entire 20 years or not doesn't matter. 20 years. To be put out in a state where the audio issues are so apparent, the combat is designed so poorly, that there's glitches galore in this game. I had to restart my game a couple times. I had to some enemies just like got locked into like the musket guys. They're supposed to fire and then reload their musket. The guy was like just firing like just boom 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 boom. He wouldn't stop, and I was like, what is going on? Like this is come on. There was times like that. There were times where like graphical issues would happen. Like at the end of one of the boss fights, the guy was like see-through in the cutscene. It was just so weird. It's like this game has been in development for 20 fucking years, and it has all these issues. And I know a lot of people who are like, oh, it's just like an average hack and slash game, like PS2 era kind of inspired game. Sure, it's average at best, but to give this game like anything above a 1 star, in my opinion, is just wrong. I mean, it plays so poorly. It runs so poorly. The audio issues are so egregious. Like not being able to hear dialogue over like the roaring seas just doesn't make any sense to me. Also, the pirate ship battle sections are atrocious. Like designed so poorly. Like this game should never have come out. It either needed more time to just like, or play testing. And I honestly think that this was just like a big blunder. I think that they were expecting to get a bunch of praise because the PS2 era game and the modern age, and oh man, aren't we all nostalgic for the GameCube and PS2 and the original Xbox era? Not that nostalgic, not this nostalgic. This game can suck some eggs. It's bad. I wasted $20 on it. Never going to get that money back. Never going to get that time back from playing the game. It was just that bad. And if you're a developer and listening to this, I'm sorry, but wasted time. Really, wasted time. So I really don't have anything positive to say about it. I really don't. Like, soundtrack, pretty mediocre. Voice acting, pretty stale. Boss fights, lackluster. Combats, basic. Level design, uninteresting and boring. Just hordes of enemies coming after you at some points just to mess you up on like a, I need to break down this door. Let's send out like 15 enemies. Yeah, just very bad. So I ended up giving this a 1 out of 5. I will not be thinking of it anymore from here on out. Hopefully. Hopefully. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. All right, GameStops are going to have additional Switch 2 units in store at the launch of the console. It's actually crazy how quickly this is coming up. The console releases June 5th. which is only like 3 weeks away at this point. We're getting dangerously close to the launch of this console. And GameStop has announced that there will be additional units available in store and online at midnight at midnight, June 4th, midnight. Did I say 15th earlier? I meant June 5th was the day that came out. But yeah, June 4th at midnight. There will be extra consoles available in person and online. So I don't think that there's going to be a lot. Definitely not as much as the original launch of the pre-orders. So if you are hoping to get a console, I think the best way to do that is to actually go to a physical store and try and pick one up. I think that's going to be your best bet because the online units are probably going to sell out just as quickly as they did before, or there's going to be a bunch of problems like before. On Twitter, they said, didn't pre-order Switch 2? Additional Switch 2 units will be available in-store and online at launch while supplies last. Launch event begins in store at 3 p.m. local time on June 4th. Switch 2 pickups start at 12 a.m. EST, 9 p.m. PST. So, yeah, I mean, GameStop isn't really that big in the gaming zeitgeist at this point, but this little stunt is going to give them a lot of publicity. So, there you go. My Target order wasn't canceled. Hurrah. So, I'm guessing that I'm going to be getting mine hopefully day one. I would really like to see that package arrive at my doorstep day one. But at this point, it's like, do I regret getting it from Target? Kinda. If I just held out for another hour, I could have gotten one at Best Buy for sure, which would have had a midnight launch, which would have been great. But at this point, it's like I have one pre-ordered. I'm good to go. I don't need to go to GameStop at midnight. I don't need to do all these things to try and get a console, which I'm happy about. But for the people who do still want a console and they're going to have to do these things, just prepare to get there like really early. It's funny because the in-person pre-orders at GameStop, they didn't sell out right away. Like, even though there might have been a long line, like I think there was like 100 units available, and like everyone who lined up in front of the GameStops around me, they got theirs. Or there's one inside like a mall near me that like it was a couple hours before they sold out because people just didn't think about going to the mall location to pre-order a Switch. So, I mean, if I hadn't been able to get a pre-order that night, I would have definitely gone to one of the two GameStops around me to pre-order because it seemed like a pretty safe bet to be able to go and get one at the store itself. This midnight release, I don't think it'll be the same vibe. I think there will be a lot of people trying to just pick one up. And same thing with the online store. Like, the online is probably going to sell out pretty quickly too. But at least there's another chance. Now, if there's other stores popping up, I would suggest following a guy named Wario64 on Blue Sky, Twitter, etc., because he has a lot of video game news on his socials that can be very important. He has a lot of different scoops on things. So if something comes up and Best Buy doesn't notify you or Target doesn't notify you, check out Wario64. He usually has the latest and greatest news for these things, and especially with a console launch. Like, the reason I got a PS5 was because of him, because he said, like, hey, Best Buy is doing this launch event or another round of pre-orders for a PS5 soon. And that got, I was at work at the time, and I had notifications turned on for his Twitter account, and it just pinged me, and I was like, oh, stop what I'm doing, sit in a parking lot of Sheetz, and pre-order this thing right now. And I was able to do that. So definitely would suggest following people who have followings like that on their social medias to get the scoop and hopefully get your Switch 2 if you want to get it at day one. Speaking of Nintendo, they do not plan to use key cards for their first-party developed games. So games like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Kart Tour will be all on a physical cartridge and not on these key cartridges that other companies are using. So that's actually a really nice thing to hear, especially after all this debacle with Xbox and how Doom doesn't have a lot of data on it, or Indiana Jones doesn't have a lot of data on it. We'll see what Gears of War does. But it is nice to hear that they are keeping the physical version of their games alive. I think that, like, look, these SD cards that Nintendo uses, they can store a lot of fucking data, and they're not that expensive to produce anymore. Like, even though you need to like get the shell and get the and get the stuff in there, sure, that's going to be a fair amount of money. The fact that, like, back in the day, an SD card for like 16 gigabytes would be like 100 fucking bucks. Nowadays, you get a USB stick for like 64 gigs for like 10 bucks, or an SD card for like 100 gigabytes for like 15 bucks, right? It's like so inexpensive nowadays. So the fact that more companies haven't switched over to a cartridge-based system, like an SD card system, it's kind of crazy to me because they seem pretty inexpensive to produce, and also you could store a lot more data on these things than a disc. You know, a disc maybe can hold like 64 gigs of data, right? Whereas these cartridges, you can get like one like Cyberpunk used, get like 150 gigs on there, or 125 gigs on there, and be good. And not have to store a lot of data on the console's internal memory, or when it updates, it could just store it onto the cartridge itself. I think that is such a great idea, and it would allow physical media to survive past the disc era, the Blu-ray era. So I mean, we'll see what happens in the future, but Nintendo's saying like, hey, all of our first party games are going to be on the cartridges. We're not going to skimp. We're not going to make key cards and anything like that. Is great for physical game owners, and it also is just makes me breathe a sigh of relief, because with these key card things, like I said last week, there's a world where 20 years in the future, which is how long it's been since the PS2 launched, 20 years in the future from now, PS5 servers shut down, PS4 servers shut down, Xbox servers shut down, Nintendo Switch 1 servers shut down, and all these games that you have on disc that only have like 84 megabytes of data, you put it into your console. Sorry, no, we can't access the store. Sorry, the store is shut down. You can't download your game. So knowing that my Switch 2 games are going to work well after the console's lifespan is always a plus for me. It's always a plus for me. So there you go. Okay, other news. Kingdom Hearts Missing Link was going to be a mobile-based game, was canceled. A lot of people were waiting for this before Kingdom Hearts 4 would eventually come out, but it seems like that day is never going to happen. In a press release, they said, although we worked hard on developing and adjusting the game in the hope that it would be enjoyed by lots of players, we determined that it would be difficult for us to offer a service that players would find satisfactory over a long period of time, leading us to the decision to cancel development. The Kingdom Hearts series will continue. We are hard at work on Kingdom Hearts 4 and hope you'll continue to support the series as you keep an eye out for further updates. So pretty much on like the same day, or the afternoon of the same day, or the next day, because a lot of people were like, well, if you're going to be working so hard on Kingdom Hearts 4, where is Kingdom Hearts 4? Like, what are you doing? So they decided to put out a bunch of screenshots from the game. Now, they didn't show any gameplay or anything like that, just some screenshots of the main character. The main character, Sora. Yes. Sora, doing like this little this like chain attack with some stars and stuff around them. They showed a screenshot of like a little girl smiling at the camera with a rotary telephone beside her. They also had a screenshot of like a Mickey Mouse section of the game where he's on like a chandelier. There was also some sort of big beast that had rockets shooting towards it, and Sora himself in like a car parking garage, and all stuff that I don't think is like super crazy, but also like it is nice for them to at least put some stuff out. Hopefully that means that a trailer will be soon, because it seems like they are pretty far along in development. So hopefully we'll be getting like a new trailer, maybe even a reveal date soon. But as of right now, that's all we got for Kingdom Hearts. For the Kingdom Hearts fans out there, that's all we got for you right now. Bungie has been called out for using another artist's work in their marathon game. So a week ago at this point, artist named N Squared, or at 4NT1R34L or ILI, I'm not sure. L. It's probably L, lowercase l. They came out on a Twitter post and said the Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from my poster designs that I made back in 2017. Bungie is, of course, not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from same design language I have refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution. Attribution? Yeah. So obviously this prompted a lot of outrage, and you might be asking, well, how close of related are they? They're pretty closely related. There's some certain spellings of words that are plastered all over the game that is lifted straight from this person's poster design. Now the arrows that they're showing are also very similar. I don't know if they're exactly similar, but the arrows are used in this person's artwork a lot. And then also their avatar that they made for themselves shows up in some of the game's smaller images. So there's definitely some stuff there, along with the main how like a lot of the artwork is like these different symbols like splattered across the screen. That also came from this person's like unique design for their language for their artwork. So in a response to this, actually, Bungie actually responded to this, which is kind of unique, a unique situation. The Marathon team came out on Twitter and Blue Sky and said, we immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these texture sheets that was ultimately used in the game. So they actually came out publicly and admitted, yes, we did use this person's stuff. A former artist at Bungie used this person's stuff for the game, and I believe that they will be taking the stuff out of the game at this point. So that's good. That's good. It's good that they admitted fault and that they are going to rectify the situation. But stuff like this shouldn't be getting passed, to this far into development stage. Like if there is a asset that someone else is taking from a different artist, like there should be some checks and balances there for sure. Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of crazy that they it's not often that a company comes out and actually says like, yep, we stole this. Yep, we did that, or well, someone did that. But they also continue to say, to prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by that former Bungie artist, and implementing stricter checks to document all artists' contributions. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. It sounds like they should keep the assets in the game and pay the person for the assets. But they're not going to do that, obviously. They're going to probably take out all the stolen material and then redo it or whatever. So, interesting turn of events here for Marathon. We'll see what they change all this stuff to. I'm sure it's not going to be that drastic of a change, but they'll change it for sure at this point because of all the public outcry there. All right, Arrowhead Studios came out and said that their next project will be completely self-funded. Helldivers 2 did so well that they were able to break away from PlayStation funding and fund their own game, meaning that they are going to have complete creative control over their next project. CEO Shams Georgiani came out in a Discord message and said that the co-op shooter has been so successful that the company can now self-fund whatever's next. Game 6, our next project, will happen the way it will happen thanks to you. The next game is 100% funded by ourselves, so we'll call 100% of the shots. When asked if there was some bad blood between them and PlayStation, they said, no way. PlayStation is great. There would be no Helldivers if it wasn't for them. We're open to working with them again in the future. They are incredibly game dev oriented, solid partners, and this is just me saying it is like it is. This is probably not great news for PlayStation because Helldivers 2 is the best-selling PlayStation-owned live service game on the console on across multiple systems now. Yeah, I mean, if Arrowhead wants to do their own thing, that's perfectly fine by me. It's interesting because there was a lot of discourse with this game early on, and including some of the updates, and a lot of people pushed that blame onto PlayStation. Like, PlayStation's making them do this, PlayStation making them that. So we'll see. I mean, they did take over their creative control after the original like outcry of people when the game came out. So we'll see what happens with their next project. I'm sure it's way far ahead in the future, but they are planning on releasing it multi-platform, which means we could see the next game be on Switch 2, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, etc. But we'll just have to wait and see. Rumor has it, again, that Red Dead Redemption 2 is getting a next-gen port. This has been a rumor for quite some time, but it's, of course, heating back up again because there are new rumors that there is going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 version of Red Dead Redemption 2. Sources close to Rockstar, in quotation marks, said that they are working on a Switch 2 version and will be putting out a PS5, Xbox Series X and S update in the future. This is also next to a rumor that they are going to port GTA 4 to newer systems after they delayed GTA 6 to May of 2026. Maybe they're going to put out a slight remaster of GTA 4 or a Red Dead Redemption 2 next-gen port to bide people over. Now, this rumor has been circulating for quite some time. It's only been reopened because of the Switch 2 rumor. At this point, I feel like if they were going to do a Switch 2 port, that would have been revealed in the opening like sizzle reel of the Switch 2 announcement video. So, as of this point, I wouldn't put a lot of stake into this, but rumors are rumors, and we'll see if anything comes of this. I do feel like they have all their resources working on GTA 6 right now, so I don't think that they would be splitting up any groups for Red Dead 2 or GTA 4, especially with GTA 6 coming out. Like, why are they going to do a GTA 4 remaster? It doesn't really make sense to me. But it is speculated that the new Rockstar Australia will be working on the remaster of GTA 4 and or the port of Red Dead 2. They are the same company that fixed the GTA trilogy that launched a couple years ago. So we'll see what happens. As of right now, I would not hold my breath. All right, Death Stranding 2 is right around the corner, and they are going to be visiting 12 cities around the world to help promote the release of the game. This is going to be called the World Strand Tour. There will be 12 stops and offer a celebration of all things Death Stranding as part of the World Tour with special guests and events at each stop. This will take place between June 8th and November, undetermined date in November. But the cities have been chosen, and they are Los Angeles, Sydney, Tokyo, Paris, London, Seoul, Taipei, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Riyadh, Sao Paulo, and Lucca, which could be a hint. Maybe Death Stranding 2 is going global in the game. We'll have to wait and see, of course. But this is pretty cool. I'm guessing Hideo Kojima is going to be at most of these stops, if not all of them. And then also maybe Norman Reedus will show up, maybe a couple other people who act in the game as well. I'm sure they'll be playing some music from the game, maybe showing some special stuff for the game. We don't really know exactly what is going to happen, but as we know, it's going to be a showcase for the game, and we'll see what they decide to do with this. But yeah, apparently the London date they already did a London date, so maybe this is like maybe that was like a trial run of the show, and they're going to officially stop at London in June. But hey, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. The game releases on the 26th of June, so by the time that it reaches London on June 30th, the game will be out, and we'll be playing it. So be interested to see what they say. And finally, for the news today, a Minecraft movie is now available to rent or buy on digital. You can now scream "Chicken Jockey" in the comfort of your own home, and you can also throw popcorn all over your living room and ride on people's backs without the police being involved. Yeah, so it's available to rent or buy right now in multiple locations. I believe Amazon Prime and probably the other like basic places like YouTube and stuff like that. Also, they released a Minecraft movie DLC, which has skins for Jack Black and various other characters in the game. Also, some special not non-playable characters, some NPCs in the game as well, or this movie were added to the game. A venture deep into the overworld of a Minecraft movie, complete with high-speed races, stealth missions, and waves of hostile mobs. You can also fight vicious piglins from the movie with powerful weapons like in a Minecraft movie add-on, Cook Steve's infamous recipe with spicy effects and lava chicken add-on, and become your favorite character with a Minecraft movie hero pack. It's all Greek to me, but let me know if you're going to be picking this up. I haven't watched this movie yet. I do plan to eventually, and now it's out on digital. I'll probably watch it sooner rather than later. All right, let's move on to what's coming soon. Actually, this is already out. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's first DLC is already available, and it is called Brushes with Death. This was made available May 15th, and it is included as part of the expansion pass for the base game. In the press release, they said, a skull, a secret, and a painter with a past. Henry's next journey begins with a whisper in the woods. So essentially, in the little teaser trailer they showed, the painter guy was kind of strapped to I don't even know what to say, like a tree or something like that, a post in the middle of the woods, and you can hear whispers starting to come around him. So it'll be interesting to see what this is all about. I do want to dive back into the game, and this might be the perfect way to do that. But there's a bunch of other stuff coming out right now that I do need to get to. But would be fun to check this out when I have some time. The DLC is available right now as part of the expansion pass, like I said, or I believe it's like $10 on the PlayStation Store. There are 2 more expansions planned for 2025. One of them called Legacy of the Forge in autumn, and Mysteria Excelsia, which arrives in winter. Mortal Kombat fans are a bit disappointed because the definitive edition of the game has launched on multiple platforms. This may indeed mean that the support for the game is ending. There will be no more DLC characters. There will be no more content updates. No more game releases. This has been a big point of conversation because when you bought the game originally with the expansion pass and everything included, it was $100 or $120 or something like that day one. And now they're selling this definitive edition only a year or two, actually about a year and a half later for only $70. So people are rightfully a bit upset about that. And it isn't even that long after the final DLC for the game, which was the Terminator from Terminator 2 was launched. So it wasn't even that long ago. A lot of people are expressing their grievances on places like Reddit and Twitter, of course. But yeah, you can actually now buy the definitive edition of the game from multiple storefronts right now, including all of the DLC post-launch, including the story DLC that released last year as well. So if you want to check that out, it is available now. If you already bought the day one DLC expansion pack for the game, kind of a rough going. You lost like $30 from that transaction, and I'm sure that this definitive edition will go on sale multiple times throughout the next couple years to really just twist that knife in the back. Was really expecting something like this much later, maybe later at the end of the year in Christmas time. So it does seem a bit soon for them to be doing this. Maybe that means that they're getting close to launching their next game, which could be the next Injustice or maybe another Mortal Kombat game, or they're working on something completely different. It's hard to say, but right now this is the definitive edition, de facto definitive edition. They've launched it as the definitive edition, which means it's probably the last of we'll hear from Mortal Kombat 1. Now, personally, I was not a big fan of Mortal Kombat 1, even though I rated it like a 4 out of 5. I felt like the combat in the game just didn't feel as good as Mortal Kombat 11 or X. But I still enjoyed like the basis of the game. I thought the story was good, and the extra content in there was fine. Yeah, it did turn out to be one of the games that I didn't really feel the need to go back to once I finished it, especially because the new DLC was so pricey when it came out. Yeah, it's unfortunate for people who already owned this game and were expecting to get a lot more content out of it for the price tag that they paid. But what you gonna do? Another thing that's already available now, the Sinking City Remastered. So they've launched this out on PC, PS5, and Xbox. This is a free upgrade to the base game, so if you already own the Sinking City, this remastered version will be available for you to download and update your game with for free, which is really nice. Some of the main enhancements for this are a full rebuild in Unreal Engine 5, 4K textures, and improved reflections, along with additional levels of detail and objects in various locations. There's also a new photo mode, adjustments to gameplay, and some new accessibility features. Yeah, I mean this is a game that I haven't really played, but it's cool. It's getting a remaster, and maybe with this remaster, I'll give it a maybe a little look see. I don't know. This is one of those games that I've been interested in because it's always seemed like an interesting premise of like this Lovecraftian world mixing with like a normal like 1920s like city. Kind of seems kind of interesting. Yeah, that is available right now as a free upgrade if you already own the game. If not, I believe it's just like $40 or something like that. Not too bad. All right, Cookie Clicker is now officially launching on PS4, PS5, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo Switch 2, and that is coming soon. The original game launched back in 2013. There was a bit of a resurgence back in 2021, and it still has a pretty good following on Steam. Cookie Clicker is a game about making an absurd amount of cookies. To help you in this endeavor, you will recruit a wide variety of helpful cookie masters like friendly grandmas, farms, factories, and otherworldly portals. So essentially what you do in this game is that you click on the cookie, much like My Name is Mayo. You click on the cookie and you make cookies. And of course, through the various other upgrades that I've already talked about, you can make more cookies and make cookies while you're offline and stuff like that. It's seen as an idle game, which is interesting to me because it does need you to click on it quite a lot to make stuff, at least at the beginning. Yeah, this is going to launch on May 22nd for $5 across the board, which is kind of interesting. And we'll see what the trophies are like on this game. This might be another trophy dump game, but we'll see. But yeah, this was a game. I mean, it still takes the world by storm at this point, and now it's going to take all other consoles by storm very, very soon. So if you want to check that out, that'll be available soon. And Nintendo has expanded its N64 library with Killer Instinct Gold. This is a N64 game from back in the day. It's a fighting game, of course, that had pretty decent graphics for the time. I would say. But Killer Instinct Tournament is back for in this classic 1996 fighting title originally released for Nintendo 64. Pick up a roster of 10 killer fighters and test your instincts across multiple explosive game modes. Battle other fighters in classic arcade mode. Put your favorite character against a friend in a team mode, or face off in the round-robin style tournament mode with up to 8 players. There's even a training mode where you can sharpen your techniques, and with hundreds of thousands of moves and killer combos at your fingertips, a little training goes a long way. You'll need to practice all you can to have a chance at landing a 70-hit ultra combo. And that's if you're not interrupted by the combo breaker. So yeah, this is available right now, I'm pretty sure, on the Switch Online expansion pack service, if you want to check that out. In Japan, they added Ridge Racer 64 to the game, to the service, which I believe was already available on the Switch in America. So they added that to Japan in Japan. Yeah, pretty cool that they've added this one. I am hoping that they rev up the Switch Online service with the Switch 2 coming out. But I feel like once they launch those GameCube games, we'll be getting a bit of a drought afterwards. But we'll see. They have been, feeding us some games here and there. So at least it's not been a total, no-show by Nintendo after the initial release. So there we go. And then finally, really the only thing that's coming soon. Here are 10 PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tier games for May 2025. And they are, in the extra tier, Sandland, Soul Hackers 2, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted Full-Time Edition, Battlefield 5, Stalker Legends of the Zone Trilogy, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Humankind, A Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, and Gloomhaven Mercenaries Edition. Out of these games right here, I think Sandland would be a great game to try out. I've heard great things about it. It looks really cool. It's Dragon Ball Z-esque because it's come from the same guy. And you have a tank. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted Full-Time Edition. This is the non-VR version of that game. Might be kind of fun. Battlefield 5, stinker game. Not great. Stalker Legend of the Zone trilogy, though, is a good get because they recently updated the game to have next-gen enhancements for them for the trilogy, so that's kind of cool. Humankind is like an RTS civilization type game, but I don't really know about these other ones. As for the premium game, yeah, that's right, premium game. You're getting Battle Engine Aquila on the PS2, which I'm not sure what this game is. It originally released in 2003 on the PS2. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that game is actually. I've never heard of that one, or at least if I have heard of it, I haven't really thought about it. So people aren't like super jazzed about the PlayStation Plus for this month. Mostly because there's 22 games leaving this month in May, and some of them are staples of the PS Plus library. Starting off, Grand Theft Auto 5, MotoGP 24, The Sims 4 Island Living, Resistance Fall of Man, which was a PS3 premium title, Resistance 2, another PS premium title, Walkabout Golf, Synth Riders, Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord, Before Your Eyes, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2. So a lot of PSVR 2 games being taken off of the catalog for some reason. Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, Stranded Alien Dawn, the Lego Movie 2 video game, Ghost Runner, Payday 2 Crime Wave Edition, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Journey to the Savage Planet, Portal Knights, Enter the Gungeon, Batman Arkham Knight, and Infamous Second Son. All of those games are going to be leaving soon at the end of May, which is kind of fucking crazy. So a lot of these games, like I said, PSVR games, there's a couple like PS3 games that they're taking off the service for some reason. Maybe that means that they're going to be doing a Resistance Trilogy HD remake for the next-gen systems. Who knows? But why would they take Infamous Second Son off there? That doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe they're making a next-gen version of that game. Hard to say. But there's a lot of great games on here that are leaving, which is really disappointing. So if you want to check out any of those games, they're leaving on the 20th of May, 2025. All right. Let's move on to the final part of the show, which is Guess That Song. If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, I will give you a heart and a congratulations in the YouTube comments or on the Discord, link down in the description below. I will give you a super reaction, and you will receive the greatest thing of all, the admiration of your peers. Also, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can leave a comment on either of those places. I can leave you a heart and a congratulations on those as well. So if you know the song name and the game that it came from, let me know in the places that I told you. Let's listen to today's song right now. Okay, if you know the stuff, let me know in the comments below or on Discord. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Really do appreciate that. This is a weekly podcast that I do, so if you want to hit that subscribe button and or follow button on the various platforms, I would appreciate that. Also, leaving a like on YouTube makes me feel good inside. I also do a podcast called Film Freaks with a Z, where we talk about movies. The latest episode is about Nope from 2022. If you want to check that out, that's a bi-weekly podcast. I also do a podcast called Fubar Ferret, which is a monthly podcast. At the beginning or end of each month, there is a new episode. So if you want to check that out, there's 2 new episodes out right now. Everything else is all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitch, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, etc. I stream on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. Right now, we're just biding our time before our summer contest comes up. And right now, we're playing Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, which was a game made for like the DS or mobile platforms. So it's been a very weird time, I'll say that. But yeah, if you want to check me out, those are the places to do so. I am Yemmy the Ferret. This has been another episode of Ferret 64. Appreciate you listening. I'll talk at you next week. So long. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Ferret 64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.